Hello, this is the continuation of Unfortunately for Society, Izuku is a Khanivore. Written by LouieTheDragon, read by Stick. Chapter 4. Just a bit of BioWare processes spliced to a spine. Trigger warning for this chapter. There is non-consensual rape, but it doesn't get any further than groping and dirty talk. If this triggers you, you can skip when Izuku pays a visit to Bakugo. The timestamps are in the description. A few weeks passed, and Izuku was given the approximate time the mission was a go-ahead, so he fasted. And 3 weeks passed before he got the call. He told Kurogiri his location, and a portal appeared right in front of him. He grinned and stepped towards appearing in between space to the side of Shigaraki, and in front of hundreds of thugs and minor villains. Shigaraki side-eyed him. "Got a disguise?" he asked. Izuku nodded and pinched his black skin. Eyes colored a bright purple and made it so that he was wearing a suit. Shigaraki seemed impressed and let it be. Soon after, they were given the go-ahead from Kurogiri and the portal opened, showing the new hero hopefuls. The 3 of them, plus the Nomu, stepped out next to the central fountain, the thugs in front of them. Then Izuku caught sight of something, or someone. Distantly, he heard the teacher, Eraserhead if he remembered correctly, yell at the students to run. But he knew Kurogiri had it covered. He lightly nudged Shigaraki. "The one with the gauntlets?" Quark explosion. "He's mine." Shigaraki didn't seem to care. "Sure, whatever." Izuku informed Kurogiri of this and was dropped off in what looked like the ruins zone. Oh, he can see him now, with another person. He looked at him for a second, not affected by Katsuki's explosions. Barely in any clothing, so unprotected. Must have some sort of hardening quark. Yes, this would work quite well for him. He made his way into the building, carelessly stepping over the defeated hooligans. He climbed the stairs to the 2nd floor and saw him. Izuku couldn't help the hysterical giggles that escaped from him, catching the 2 students' attention. Another small fry we need to beat into the ground?" Katsuki yelled. The redheaded student next to him looked more hesitant. Not so fast," Izuku started, hands in the air. Bakugo bro? Wasn't he one of the villains up front?" Unfortunately, he was ignored. Katsuki just shifted into a more battle-ready position. Katsuki is as impatient as ever, no?" Izuku couldn't keep a smile off his face. Katsuki blinked. "And who the fuck are you?" Izuku couldn't help it once again. He laughed. "Oh, you remember me. I'm the last person that your little lackey saw. What was it? Fingers and wings, I think you called them." He paused. "I saw that you screamed such vulgar things at them. Then went on your merry way," he answered. Katsuki clenched his fist, and a vein started bulging in his forehead. Oh, it looked like Izuku had hit a nerve. Katsuki roared as he lunged towards Izuku. "You fucker! What right did you have to kill them? They did nothing to you." Izuku just grabbed the right hook that he always started with and flipped Katsuki over. He only took a single glance at the other kid before transforming his arm to vault him through the wall and out the building. He turned around and gazed back at Katsuki, whom he was holding down with his other hand. "What right?" he started. He looked at Katsuki mere inches from his face. He smiled, the widest smile he could muster, meaning it was completely ear to ear, and spoke lowly. I don't know. Kachan, what did they do to me? Izuku could see the realization and the cold dread that seeped into him. Deku? Katsuki all but whispered. Katsuki looked up at Izuku, who still had that wicked fang smile. Oh yes, Katsuki, it's me. Izuku confirmed. Then a look of absolute bliss formed on his face. And oh, they tasted delightful. So scared and weak. And they say revenge tastes sweet. And I have to say, I agree, he happily told Katsuki. Katsuki glared at him. You fucking sicko. You can't be Deku. That wimpy little blur has always wanted to be a hero, and he doesn't even have a quirk. An imposter like you should at least know that. He spat. Shut up, Izuku hollered, leaning a hit at Katsuki's head. The sight just filled him with ecstasy as he shifted to straddle Katsuki, getting a hard-on from the euphoria. Katsuki noticed this and thrashed, but it just riled up Izuku. He grinded into Katsuki's hips, a breathy moan escaping his lips, and he took the hand, not pinning Katsuki down, and grabbed a hold of his groin, massaging it until it had no choice but to perk itself up, straining against his hero suit. Izuku stopped his massaging and just tightly gripped it. Childhood friend or not, you're just so excited, aren't you? He taunted. Katsuki had tears burning the corners of his eyes, threatening to fall in shame. Izuku took notice of this and focused on it. What's this? I thought heroes never cried. Or are those tears of joy? Joy that you finally get to be fucked within an inch of your life like you always dreamed about? The tears finally fell as Katsuki choked out. Please, no. That got a cackle out of Izuku, who replied, Begging now, I see. Didn't know you were such a slut. He tightened his grip on Katsuki's neck and leaned down to whisper, Oh, don't worry yourself, Kachan. Who would ever want to sleep with you? Izuku then bit down and tore a huge chunk of Katsuki's ear off of the top, earning a pained screech. Izuku moaned as he chewed on the first thing he had to eat in weeks. He soon came on the ground next to Katsuki's head. Then he felt more than he heard All Might arrive. He rolled his hips on Katsuki's again to taunt him, before punching him again, knocking the blonde unconscious. He got up and launched himself all the way back to Shigaraki's side. Thanks to the brief snack, the hand-covered man just side-eyed him, grumbling, Took you long enough. He turned back to where All Might was standing in front of them, glaring. Izuku put on his most innocent-looking eyes and dashed around All Might's feet, dodging the man's swings. Oh, I always wanted to meet you. Izuku forced stars onto his eyes. I just have to ask you a question. Izuku then cocked his fist fast and slammed it in the part of his body that just smelled rotten. It seemed he was right, because some blood escaped and landed on Izuku's chin. He dashed to the fallen hero, landing straight on the point of impact. Can someone without a quirk be a hero? Now that got the hero's attention. He used a finger to wipe the blood off his chin before staring straight into All Might's eyes as he slowly licked it. Although, I suppose it doesn't matter now. He laughed. He glanced back at Shigaraki, who looked slightly confused, but gave him the go-ahead. The people in the vicinity up to this point had only seen a kid with pitch-black skin who seemed to personally know All Might and had vaguely done damage to him. They didn't seem to see the threat as All Might did, because for sure there was no way that this was the same kid just 10 months prior. But it was, wasn't it? He could tell, and now... The boy smiled and laughed as his form shifted. He melted into black eternal shadow, his eyes lengthening as well as his legs, which gained an extra joint. He became much larger than both the bird-headed creature and All Might himself. He had a sort of striped pattern, both with black, but one seemed normal and one seemed soul-sucking. Unbeknownst to him, flickering in and out of sight all over his body were thousands of eyes, or it might have been teeth. Regardless, everyone in the vicinity felt like they were in the presence of an apex predator. His head was daunting as he opened his mouth to reveal rows upon rows of razor-sharp teeth. He cackled once more, except it was warped and distorted, shattering glass in the dome, but not the dome itself. People hurried to cover their ears to prevent their eardrums from shattering. The creature looked around and licked its lips with a long, forked tongue. Claws, half as big as the fountain, swiped downwards to All Might, creating 3 long, deep gashes in his chest. The creature glanced down at Shigaraki and gestured his hand. Shigaraki, getting the message, yelled, "No moo." The bird-headed creature obliged and launched itself towards All Might. Somehow, All Might remained standing, attempting to block each of the creature's punches. He managed to incapacitate the Nomu just in time for the other heroes to arrive. Snipe shot in the direction of Shigaraki, who took most of the hits, yet was blocked by the huge creature as it was shrinking back down into the boy. The 3 villains left through a portal, leaving the heroes to deal with the aftermath. When the portal opened back up into the bar, Izuku jumped out and up to perch on one of the bar stools. His arms hung by his sides, slightly forward, and still morphed into razor-sharp talons that looked as though they were made of steel. Shigaraki came out next, followed by Kurogiri. Shigaraki stopped a few feet in front of Izuku, who was staring at him and humming something non-cynical. Finally, he said, "The fuck was that?" Izuku shrugged. "You're gonna have to be more specific than that," he responded, his eyes lingering restlessly around the room. Shigaraki made frustrated hand movements. "That fucking creature, what was that?" Izuku's eyes snapped into focus on Shigaraki, who startled at the sudden attention. "I'd tell you, but then I'd have to kill you," he said. Shigaraki looked to be on the verge of a horrified rage. "Is that a threat?" he screeched. Izuku snorted. "Nah, Shiggy, that's what you call a joke. That's what I look like," he finally answered. Shigaraki took on the posture of a pouting teen, unsure of whether or not to be offended that he didn't get the joke, or insulted because of that nickname. While Shigaraki stood in the corner, Kurogiri stepped in and asked, "Does this mean that this current form is fake?" Izuku shook his head. "Nah, I did look like this, but then I got hungry, so that's that." He made it clear that that was the end of the conversation, as he shifted his arms back to human ones and hopped off the stool. He turned around and gestured for Kurogiri to open a portal. He did, and Izuku stepped onto his front porch. Changing to his original form, he walked into his house, just in time for him to have a massive hunger pang. He texted his mom to let her know, and she responded in thanks. Ugh. He was so focused on Katsuki that he didn't get any of the other students. He got up from the couch and went to the window of his room, pulling it up and sliding out. As he jumped across rooftops, He saw that on the big screens of downtown, even from this far away, were showing the USJ and its aftermath, apparently. He slowed down from where he was, having got wind of some escalated yelling. He peered down to where there was a door held open by a very small person who was yelling at someone inside, presumably his parents. He finally shouted, "Fine!" and slammed the door as he went to the alley next to his house. Izuku recognized him. He was one of the hero students at the USJ. Well, wasn't he lucky? He silently hopped down from the roof, turning his skin back to the pale color of his makeup face. He then walked towards the boy, making sure to let his footsteps be heard. It was only when he was within 5 feet of him that he noticed there was someone behind him. Have the heroes not taught them about situational awareness yet? Oh well, at least that's good for him. Oh, I saw you on the news. Weren't you the one of those hero students from the USJ? The boy turned around before attempting to presumably puff up his chest, yet all he managed to do was look bloated. Yes, that's me. Glad to know I have fans already. When Izuku was sure that they were far enough away from the opening of the alley, he striked. A fan of yours? Well, he trailed off, and the boy must have finally noticed something off because he started to turn around and was stopped by a hand around his throat, pinning him to the wall, leaving his feet flailing. What? Izuku let out a small laugh. Oh, you don't recognize me? I thought I left an impression. He briefly turned the skin void black as he was, before shifting back again. The boy was writhing painfully in his grip, as recognition dawned on his face. You're... Quick Flash, yes. Izuku cut him off. And I was so excited to see Katsuki that I didn't get anything to eat. What a shame. He spent no time killing the kid, because he most likely wasn't a hero student just for show. And Izuku wasn't going to take any chances. He hurried back home, greeted his mother, and hurried to bed, as it had been a long day.